Good transition into the earnings call, because
Yeah, let us get into the Walt Disney earnings call because that was just a couple of days ago. We haven't covered it here on the main channel yet. Now, let's just first say that it wasn't this unbelievable affair that it was the last time. The last time that was one for the ages. That was a train wreck where Bob Iger was outright assaulted several times over by his own shareholders that must have lied in the pre-screening about what questions they were going to ask, because they all asked him, what the hell are you doing with all this activism? What's with all of the, how do I put it, with all the gay stuff you're forcing in here, driving away families? What are you doing? Those are the questions he was faced with, and he was faced with them live. None of that happened this time. He got some tough questions, but they weren't that tough, and they appeared to be very well screened this time. So the biggest news that kind of came out of it was that Disney, they are in something of a downwards spiral, and they missed all of their estimated financial goals. They missed all of them. The biggest thing was the growth in subscribers for Disney Plus, which was a negative 4.6 million. Most of that from India, because India lost some cricket championship.
they used that excuse like 6 months ago, though, Andre.
Yeah, but it's probably the same thing. But still, it has stagnated as hell, and it's probably losing subscribers in the West as well. And that's really, really bad for them. To the point where Bob Iger even had to admit that they have to do something about their spending on Disney Plus, because they're spending all this money on making and marketing Disney Plus series, and they're just not getting their money's worth for it in terms of new subscribers. That's a dig at Marvel and Star Wars, because they're the ones costing stuff there, only going to show that all of Phase 4 was a complete bust. And
before we jump too deep into that, I just want to say this about the whole India 4 million subscriber thing. They keep using that as spin excuse. From what I remember, they weren't getting jack shit from any of those subscribers in India anyway. So if they're hurting, it has very little to do with that. They're losing, they're bleeding subscribers in the US as well.
Yeah.
Don't let them lie to you on that. Because that's where the money's at. Sorry.
This is over the same time frame that Netflix has grown with 7 million.
Oh, interesting.
So it's Disney Plus in particular that is declining. And we saw the markets respond to this instantly, with the Disney stock the very next day dropping by nearly 5%. So that's a pretty
Actually,
hefty,
it got so low as it got below 9 at one point.
Yeah, but that's at one point. That wasn't for the day as a whole. But yeah.
No, but I'm just saying that's how bad it was after that.
It was bad, and you even have like analysts coming out and saying that they do believe that there's still long-term value in Disney, but for the foreseeable future, investors better brace themselves for a rough ride, because it's going to be rough, because there's no indication that it's going to change. That's the important thing here. The market doesn't believe there's anything Disney can do to change the current trajectory they're on right now, because they just don't have any momentum. Paul, you were saying.
So is that 95? What's the multiple on that? Does anyone know?
That I have not studied in detail. So now,
like, how inflated is that anyway, versus its actual cash flow value?
Yeah, again, that I would have to look up.
So I'd be curious to see whether that's inflated already. I mean, that's part of the problem with the modern stock market, is that it's basically gambling. Because I mean, why would you invest in a stock that is, it basically is valued 10 years into the future?
Yeah, very good point. And Matthew W. also, and a few others, point out that
it's down even more today.
It's down even more. That now it's down 91. Now it's 91.41 at the time of now.
And the other problem Disney has versus Netflix is that for the most part, every single subscriber is a real paid subscriber for Netflix, whereas Disney is still giving away a long-term 6-month, maybe even a year deals with not Verizon anymore, but the old Verizon one. People are still using it.
As I say, my kid, I still get it for free through my kid's Verizon. Yeah.
Correct. And then the other one, I can't remember the pink one, has been doing that lately. And I've had a lot of customers, not customers, but people online telling me, oh yeah, when my free Disney subscription runs out with T-Mobile.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're going to go. So I thank you, Thunder Duck. That's part of their big problem, is that people aren't really, I don't know what percentage of people are actually paying for the service.
That's a good question. And that's where I was saying about this loss, right? Like, for the loss to have really affected them, that's why I don't believe this spin about India, because if I remember, like, Culture and Valiant's reporting on that, they were only getting like $1.25 per customer or whatever it was out of that whole deal there. So I think that's why they didn't pick up the cricket deal. You know what I mean? Like, why pay all the money for these sports deals if you're not really making any money off these customers anyway?
Now, the Indian deals are very low value.
That's what I mean. So why would I understand why they wouldn't fork over the money? Because that's why I don't think they're using that as spin, right? To me, that's like when Netflix was all like, "Oh yeah, we're down," but it's just because we dumped, Russia. That's why.
Right.
If there ever was spin, it was that.
Yeah.
And this is the same kind of spin, because this has been an excuse already for 6-7 months in the past. And I think it may even been longer than that, because Culture was talking about it last night when he was, we were talking about it way back when those guys brought it up.
Yes. We've lost the 8 Russian paid customers,
Yeah.
but we maintain the 10 million.
Well, they have their own Netflix now. So.
Yeah, Netflix. We got the people who are hackers who've got Netflix.
No, we just have videos and we come to your house. Okay, it's Netflix.
That's Netflix.
You watch video with me.
I have to go into a cinema with my phone.
You've never seen the
movie, then I come by.
I take it Paul's never seen the Netflix commercials before, but we'll save those for another time.
I believe I did. Very good. No, they were good.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so like overall, I mean, for their stock to be down this bad, there's more to this.
I think it should be lower. I'm actually really surprised that it can't. It hasn't been nailed below 90.
Well, that's now it's at 91 something. So next week it could be in the high 80s. This very well could happen, because just remember that the last movie that had really any chance of like being good for them was Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's underperforming. And I know that the industry desperately wants the Little Mermaid remake.
I was just going to say, now I know why they're boasting the hell out of that in the last week.
Yeah, I maintain what I said before. I see why they think that, because so many of the Disney live action remakes have made it to $1 billion. But I counter, except for the ones that they dumped straight to Disney Plus, which has then created inflation of animated Disney remakes, and they suck, so that people will get burned on by it as well. Like, why would you want to go and see Diverse Ariel just straight after Diverse Peter Pan was dumped on Disney Plus, where everyone can see it easily if they even want to finish it? And then you have the overall damage to the Disney brand, like all of those live action remakes that did $1 billion. Well, that was before Lightyear. That was before Strange World. That was before Quantumania. I don't believe that parents trust the Disney brand.
I don't disagree with you, Andre. The only difference I will say here with Little Mermaid is that it's in that Renaissance era, and all those remakes have cross the $1 billion mark. That's
But I would say that all those remakes actually had a psychologically negative uh, cum- a cumulative effect.
I want to believe
it's,
but
it's you're draining your savings account.
well, this is going to be the test, right? Like Paul, like
No, I think this is
I
part
hope
of
you
it,
guys.
though.
Well, I hope you guys are right, but I'm not going to be surprised when this movie makes $1 billion. Is all I'm saying.
But it doesn't matter whether it makes $1 billion. That's not my point. My point is, unless you're creating new stuff, I mean, think of the heyday of Disney with, the wacky professor, Flubber, they just came out with one original thing, Herbie the Love Bug, and I think the gang that couldn't shoot straight was theirs, and it was just one fun family movie after another, and then that builds up your psychic brand or your brand. I mean, brand is a psychic experience, but these remakes drain that, because your creative people should be spent making new IPs. It shouldn't be used to just dredge up all this old stuff. Yeah, you're going to make $1 billion, but the long-term harm, I think, is way too great, and it's being proven.
No argument there, but they don't care because they're in it for now, right? And they need this. They need this.
No, I get it, but where do they have the new Herbie the Love Bug? Where's Freaky Friday?
Well, actually, they just announced a sequel to Freaky Friday with Jamie Lee Curtis and what's her ass
with Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah, that's the one.
But that's old though.
I know, but they just announced it yesterday. I'm not kidding.
What?
Yeah, they're doing like an
updated one where both of them look like hags.
I imagine so.
Yeah, where the older hag goes into the body of the slightly younger hag and vice versa. So they get like so she gets like a preview.
Well, what's funny is Lindsay Lohan looks older than Jamie Lee Curtis now.
I'm not surprised.
It's sagging your tits on top of it all. No, it'll probably be Lindsay Lohan having a kid now, I'd imagine, being it's that many years.
Wow.
We'll have to see. But Herbie, on the other hand, they've tried and tried and tried and tried and tried.
Well, they did a Lindsay Lohan Herbie that was quite good.
They did. It did okay. That one did okay.
I mean, I have no idea what their box office was, but the movie was enjoyable.
Okay is the best I could put for it. Like, it did okay. But not like anywhere. Because if it had done better, they would have done more Herbie movies. There's still do you guys realize that there was a Bruce Campbell Herbie movie that's hard to come by?
Really?
Yes, people forget about this. They did a TV remake / sequel of The Love Bug. And Bruce Campbell plays the son of the original character. I can't remember his name now.
Well, they did do several straight to VHS Herbies. There are a bunch.
Well, most of those were theatrical. They did a TV series, and then they did that movie I'm talking about. But they never released it anywhere else outside of VHS. It has not seen the light of day since.
But still, my point is, where is that Disney fair? Where is the Shaggy DA? Where are those movies?
Well, they just redid the Shaggy Dog with God, who was it?
Man, you have an answer for everything.
They did. That's what I'm saying. They've tried this stuff, Paul.
No, but they don't need remakes of the Shaggy DA. Like, they need to make new ones. New stuff.
The closest thing they got to that was Frozen.
New stuff of their old stuff. That's what Disney does.
That's really what they've done for the last 40, 50 years. Yeah, it's just new stuff of their old stuff, really.
They're bankrupt.
Yeah.
Creatively, absolutely.
Well, I thought there was one after the Tim Allen one. I thought they just redid one for Disney Plus here, but somebody reminded me if I'm wrong. But
the Santa Claus, was that a Disney movie?
The newer one, yeah. No, but I mean, I swore they did another, because they did the Tim Allen one. That was like almost 15, 20 years ago. But I swear they did another one recently for Disney Plus, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, but I don't think it was that successful.
Oh, none of them have been. No, and that's what Andre, and I agree with Andre. None of their other remakes, rebootquels, whatever, have really been successful outside of the Renaissance era films. And that's the only reason I've been stuck on this idea that this one will probably make $1 billion. And I know, to your point, Paul, it's not what you're saying, and I get you.
Oh,
But-
I think this could very well make $1 billion if it.
But as
captures
far
the
as like
young
that
girl
Disney
crowd.
we have not seen that Disney since the 2000s, right? Like they did try a few new things, like what was that superhero one with Kurt Russell, where it was like the
Yes,
something high. I can't remember
Yeah,
what it
yeah,
was.
yeah.
And they had a few other ones there. They
that
had
was fun.
the
I didn't
gerbil
mind that.
one. They
But
had
that's still old.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. That's the last era they really tried any of this kind of stuff, where they
Wow.
actually tried to do new IPs within the Disney umbrella, right? They had the G-Force or whatever it was, the gerbil.
Superhero High School or something.
Sky High was what it was
Sky
called. Thank
High.
you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
That's what I'm saying. They haven't really done anything since then where they've had this.
Yeah, Sky High is like almost 20 years old.
That's what I'm saying. It's been that long.
But that's because they've been preoccupied ditching these purchased IPs, like driving them into the ground, so they're valueless. That's they've been preoccupied with that.
Pirates of the Caribbean would be their last original thing. Sorry.
Yeah.
While at the same time letting their own proprietary brands that made them famous completely languish.
Yep.
Like, for instance, the obvious answer, the Disney answer to Super Mario should be Mickey Mouse, and they're letting it completely languish.
I don't know if Mickey could fly anymore, Andre. I get what you're saying, but this is why I don't think they've really fought for the last year or two to try and extend him any farther.
Hey.
You can make anything successful with the right vision and with the right efforts behind
I agree with
it.
Andre.
They haven't done that.
Where's the
Of
attempt?
course, Mickey Mouse, Donald, they can all fly today. You just have to do them right. You have to find a way to do them which makes them as magical for kids today as they were for kids in the 30s, 40s, 50s.
Well, in
60s,
this generation
70s, 80s, 90s.
that's grown up now, they know Mickey Mouse from Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, right?
No, so that's actually the previous generation. The kids that are growing up right now don't know Mickey at all.
Well, the kid, like your age kids, yes. I'm talking about the adults now. That's what I'm saying. So, like, there's no, I don't know. Mickey is kind of, I hate saying it, but almost kind of lost us, especially up against
they have to
characters like
brand.
Mario. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Andre.
Brand, but it's a brand that they have, and it's one they have less language. Because
for only 2 years, maybe.
It's the worst thing that Bob Iger did in retrospect. Everything that Bob Iger did, he can be defended from a fiscal point of view, because under him, the value of Disney for a long while absolutely skyrocketed. But all he did was that he made acquisitions and he made non-Disney things into Disney things that didn't have Disney soul or something. For instance, he acquired Marvel. Marvel is not Disney. Walt Disney had nothing to do with Marvel, so that was something acquired. Same thing with Pixar, same thing with Lucasfilm. These are the things which are driving Disney right now from a creative entertainment point of view. But the original creations and the visions of Walt Disney, that's gone now. That's nowhere to be seen. And that is something that was allowed to languish and die under Bob Iger. There were still like some Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck stuff coming out under Eisner, not under Iger. Iger, he went completely with the stuff that we bought, that's Disney now, and that worked great financially. But what it means right now, when those things are have been run into the ground, because they did that in the name of ESG, that's what killed both Marvel and Lucasfilm. I have more details on that in a later video, actually. But what they have right now is that they have left their own brands, which built Disney from scratch. They've allowed it to languish for decades.
Well, they didn't have the manpower. They didn't have the brain power to do it.
No, that's by choice.
I think so. I mean,
yeah.
Could Mickey have been rebuilt as a Mario character? Absolutely.
Absolutely, it could.
Perhaps, but they didn't care enough, and he's gonna fall into public domain anyway.
And I just thought of a new Freaky Friday. Rather than two women, one of them's a trans woman, and when they do the switch, he finally gets a vagina.
And then doesn't want to switch back.
Correct.
But he has an existential problem because it's his mother.
There you go.
Well, there's
Yeah.
more to this,
It's
obviously.
quite gross.
This is the
actually.
really important thing right here. So Tom,
Yeah.
take us through this story.
Yeah, there's more to this. It just keeps getting better for Mr. Iger here. Because according to our good buddy Andrew over at Legal Mindset, um, things that Bob said could have massive implications that could include criminal penalties, and billions of dollars are at stake. Because Bob went and threw out the old, well, if DeSantis wants to keep our business and our taxes, he might want to play ball kind of thing.
Mm.
So he kind of drew another line in the sand here. And look, at this point, I'm curious the size of balls that Bob Iger's got, because he's playing with fire here. If you ask me, where are they going to fucking move to? Where could they afford? And how the hell could they ever afford to move, just uproot and move Disney out of Florida? That ain't going to happen.
It's going to be one of those midnight moves.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't think he was threatening that. He was like threatening, we're thinking of expanding for 15 billion, but maybe we'll just buy like candy with that money instead. It's more that kind of threat. But still, the bigger issue here is, you're right, Tom, because here I just want to highlight to everyone who's new. We have, in addition to the Midnight's Edge main channel, we also have Midnight's Edge After Dark, where Tom holds streams, stuff like that. Plus, we have Midnight's Edge Espanol and Live Archives. And in Live Archives is where you'll find all our previous streams, including clips of earlier streams. And one especially pertinent clip is a recent one where we had Andrew from Legal Mindset come on and break down in detail exactly what is going on with Reedy Creek. And Andrew Esquire just so happens to be an expert in the field of special districts in the state of Florida. So he knows exactly what is up with this, and he broke it down in detail for us. So head on over to Live Archives, check out that clip.
He was great.
Where it's broken, where it'll be
he was
broken down.
Absolutely a star on that segment of the show.
And two things have happened since then. One is that DeSantis, either he has proper lawyers, or some of his lawyers have actually been watching Andrew Esquire and said, okay, so that's what's going on here.
Yeah.
Because DeSantis, he basically repeated Andrew's talking points in an interview just a few days ago, where he basically said, we haven't done anything to Disney. We haven't taken anything away from Disney. We've simply dissolved the Reedy Creek Development District, which is its own legally separate thing and not part of Disney. And a problem that Disney appears to have is that they're conflating Reedy Creek with Disney, and that is fraud and opens them to litigation and everything like that. And this is something that Bob Iger evidently isn't aware of. His LA and New York-based lawyers evidently aren't aware of the legalities surrounding the Florida special districts. Because here in this story that is referenced by Bounding into Comics, great publication, he keeps on doing it again. He conflates Disney and Reedy Creek, talking about Reedy Creek as us, as Disney, and how this is something that was done to them. DeSantis retaliated against Disney. But the fact of the matter is, he hasn't done shit to Disney. He simply dissolved the independent district that was Reedy Creek. Nothing has been done to Disney in any way. So,
yes and no. Yeah, I mean, the way Andrew mentioned it is that Disney actually screwed themselves by trying to create this entity that, on paper, they distanced themselves from Reedy Creek, but for all intents and purposes, they managed it. And so DeSantis coming in and saying, well, this has nothing to do with you. You have it. This is how you've structured it. What are you complaining about? And Disney's going, oh, no, this really is ours. And they had control over it. And I mean, I think it's all pretty clever.
Yeah. Yeah, they have control of it, but what they have, and this is
Oh, we lost on
Bob Iger. He evidently has no idea what's going on here, really. So I think that their lawyers aren't aware which laws are actually at stake here. Because this was in response to a question from a shareholder. And I'll read from the article here from Bounding into Comics. Iger said, first of all, I think the case that we filed last month, that would be when they sued DeSantis, made our position and the facts very clear. It only made clear their truth as they see it. And that's really that this is about one thing and one thing only, and that's retaliating against us, Disney, for taking a position about pending legislation. And we believe that in us taking that position, we are merely exercising our right to free speech. And yeah, they may believe that, but really that is not applicable in the case of Reedy Creek with the special district. So that's simply wrong application of the law. And then he carries on. Also, this is not about special privileges or a level playing field, or Disney in any way using its leverage around the state of Florida. But since there's been a lot said about special districts and arrangements, just moved on me here because of commercials on the page, so thank you. I love it when that happens.
I know, that's great.
Yeah. Anyway, and also we're not the only company operating a special district, he stated. Yeah, no, it's true. They're not the only one, but they're the only one with that privilege. And then he goes and he lists a bunch of others, which again doesn't apply. And then he continues, there's also a false narrative that we've been fighting to protect tax breaks as part of this, Iger asserted. But in fact, we're the largest taxpayer in Central Florida, paying over $1.1 billion in state and local taxes last year alone. And we pay more taxes, specifically more real estate taxes, as a result of that special district. Now, that's a claim I'm not sure I believe, but he carries on, and we all know there was no concerted effort to do anything to dismantle what was once called Reedy Creek Special District until we spoke out on the legislation, he opined. So this is plainly a matter of retaliation, while the rest of Florida special districts continue operating basically as they were. But again, he's ignoring the fact that the rest of the districts were never like this one. What this legislation does is it brings this one up to speed with all the others. So, yeah, the big point here to me is that Iger doesn't appear to be applying the correct laws in this situation.
It's such a funny situation because DeSantis, I'm sure I don't know the man. I don't know of any politician at that level that has not made what would you call it, deals with powerful individuals that benefit the powerful individuals. I mean, could you imagine DeSantis, not not playing ball with some of his bigger constituents, but here he can go after Disney and look completely squeaky clean. Disney has handed him this PR plus that lets DeSantis go, look,
more than that, I would say that Iger has provoked this.
Well,
because I maintained ever since this whole thing started, because we now know, we've learned this after the fact, that there was a backdoor channel between DeSantis' office and Chapek's office.
Yeah.
So I stand by my initial assertion that if Chapek had been allowed to continue in his position, if he had been able to purge and change Disney the way that he wanted, there would have been some kind of deal made between Chapek and DeSantis, which would allow both of them to save face and which would have been mutually beneficial for the state of Florida and for the state of state of Disney. It's practically a state within a state. But then Iger came back, and Iger, he's lauded as this incredible politician and diplomat and what have you, but for some reason he never appeared that way with DeSantis. Here he appears to have been knives out from day one, and I did an editorial on it because shortly after he came back, he made a full frontal assault at DeSantis in the trades, humiliating him. And I think that the response to that was game on, motherfucker. At that moment, you had egos involved. Then it was no longer about diplomacy. I do believe that right now there is very much a battle of egos between DeSantis and Iger, but the one who provoked that was Iger, because he's always been the aggressive party here. Every single statement that's been made against Florida and DeSantis coming from Disney after Iger came back has been an extremely aggressive one.
I mean, it's basically like, like if you were to sit down, like if you're in a relationship and you were to sit down with your significant other and you had to sit there and listen to them go on and on and on for 10 minutes about all the things they don't like about you and things that you want you to change, right? And then you just start off by saying, well, I understand that. First of all, we have this problem. I have this problem with you. You get one thing out of your mouth and they freak the fuck out. And they're like, we can't do this. We can't work like this. And it's like, well, hold up, time out here. And that's where I see DeSantis in this move, right? Because you're exactly right, Andre. It's like, it was completely unprovoked. Out of nowhere, Disney decides they're going to attack Florida and DeSantis, right? And it's not just on a state level either, which he is. But they took this to the national stage, right? And in that, basically, so DeSantis, he was put in a position where what is he supposed to do? Just kind of fold and buckle? Or what? Because at this point, all he's doing is just saying, yeah, it's a little fucking gangster, but so what? Sometimes you got to play a little gangster. Because that's all Disney and all these fuckers have done. It's like, you like your life. Well, it would be a shame if something were to happen to it, if you were to get canceled for your wrong think, right? So it's kind of the same thing here, where DeSantis just played the same ball that they've been playing all these years. It's like, well, you want to get involved in politics? Oh, you've got this little special district here that you're related to. Boy, it'd be a fucking shame if something happened to that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And they called his fucking bluff.
Yep.
Honestly, I don't have one way. I don't care about DeSantis one way or the other. But I got to give him credit for having the balls as a politician to actually follow through with a threat on something or a promise. Because how often does that happen with a politician?
Well, when their ego is under attack and they are in a position where they can't look weak, because this is also what I said right away, that, oh shit, Iger just made the mistake of a lifetime because he made DeSantis look weak, and DeSantis can't afford to look weak now. So now DeSantis has to look strong. So that means there's not going to be any kind of mutually beneficial solution here, because Iger has made it appear that everything that is mutually beneficial is going to look like a win for Disney. Iger can't, DeSantis can't have that now. He needs a win for himself.
But now I understand more. I mean, I know he was kind of fucking with him at first, but I understand more now of what he's saying with the whole, well, we'll put a prison here, we'll do this, we'll do that. He's basically saying, go for it, move out, leave. We'll see what happens. I've got plenty of other people who are waiting to move in.
Universal.
Not just Universal, but I'm sure other, like that's where I think he was making, the points with like the prisons and all this other shit. It's like that land could be used for a lot of other things and generate just as much or more revenue for the state than Disney is right now. They're basically getting a free fucking ride, is what he's saying.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they're still paying in, but they're not paying in the amount of money that any of the other, Universal or anybody else has to. They get all this special treatment. They got their own special district, just like I brought up a couple of weeks back, like with Action Park. We heard about all the accidents with that. Why don't we ever hear about any accidents coming out of Disney? The reason is because of Reedy Creek. They keep all that shit under wraps in their own little bubble.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
But believe you me, there's plenty of horror stories to be had and shit that's happened at Disney World. But anyway, no, I find this hilarious. I think that Bob is kind of freaking out a little bit. Otherwise, why would they be resorting to such threats? I mean,
but the problem that he doesn't seem to get is that the tougher face that he puts on, the more he digs himself and Disney into a hole right here.
Well, what's the famous saying, Andre? Never stop your enemy from making a mistake.
Is he hoping for a Democratic governor to take over?
He could be waiting forever.
I'm just putting that out there.
No, I know what you're saying, but like, yeah, no, I don't think they've got time for that.
I do believe that Disney are no doubt like hoping to outweight DeSantis, but they may be waiting for a while if they think there's going to come a Democrat that's going to come and take over the state of Florida anytime soon.
I mean, there's a lot of people who seem to believe that this is going to be such a sure thing for Disney and a slam dunk. If that's the case, then why is Bob even making these threats and claims? If that was the case, and I think you're right, he's ignorant to a point, Andre, because I trust Andrew's reporting on this 110%. Like, he absolutely knows what the fuck he's talking about, and clearly Bob doesn't. And I think you're right. All the expensive ass California and New York lawyers are telling him one thing because they don't understand this shit at the end of the day. I really think that's the case. And he may know that. I do think that he knows a little bit that this is not going to go the way he wants, or he wouldn't be out saying things like that. And he wouldn't be constantly trying to paint themselves as some victim in this whole situation, because he had the perfect scapegoat, right? And he hasn't used it yet. And that was, well, this was all under Bob Chapek's regime, and I would like to do whatever I can to work this out amicably for both parties. You know, that should have been the approach he would have taken from the start.
I got the sense that Chapek almost had the apology working and the deal in his pocket before he got fired.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. With Chapek, this wouldn't have been an issue. Chapek would have been able to resolve this thing.
They were already working on it. Exactly.
In a way that would have given both of them a win. At this point, Bob Iger, in his second reign, is the worst thing ever to happen to Disney. I stand by that.
I think it's hilarious that they're that ignorant. Like, I mean, somebody brought it up in the chat that basically
worse than ignorance, it's ego.
Well, DeSantis is basically their landlord. Somebody said that in the chat. I'm sorry, I was going to credit you, but it went past already. But it's true in a way. I mean, you have certain rights, but at the end of the day, why would you want to piss him off?
No, there makes no sense.
It doesn't. It's like, okay, fine. Yeah, you're just playing hardball in the press with this guy. What do you think this is?
Not just that, but a lot of conservatives in the United States admire Ron DeSantis, and a lot of conservatives come to Disney World to entertain their children. And,
of course.
And I think there's a Bud Light effect with pissing off a conservative hero.
Well, and not to dredge up shit from the beginning of the show, but even what's his cock from CNN had to come out, and I disagreed with most of what he said. But he was one of the first ones to finally point out the obvious, is that nobody else other than us have been pointing out for a long time. 50% of this country does not agree with this shit. At least. And you're right. You're 100% right, Paul. Bob is not even taking into consideration about how he's pissing off at least half of his fan base for Disney.
Yeah, I think there's a very clear Bud Light effect that he's ignoring.
Absolutely.
And I do believe that The Little Mermaid is going to be paying for that at the box office.
I hope you guys are right. I really do, because they need that failure on our part, right? They need it to be successful. But if we want to make a big, huge statement in this cultural battle, the Little Mermaid has to fall flat on its face. It has to flop harder than Flounder.
I'm not wishing for its demise. I just want to
I
make that
normally
official.
wouldn't, Paul, but yes, let's keep making fish metaphors. At the end of the day, it's no skin off my back. You're right, 100%. It don't matter. It's not made for me. Well, it technically is, but it isn't made for me. Like I did point out.
You just have to believe in cod.
Yeah, exactly. If you believe in cod, then anything is possible.
That's right. Any fish related story, you have to believe in cod.
Yes.
Yeah.
But no, like it was my last Disney movie as a kid, so in that sense, it's technically made for me. But in a sense of like the rest of it, it's like, no, I know it's made for the, modern 6-year-old girls that are, wanting to sing the songs and dress up like Ariel and whatnot. Like, I get that. And in that respect, I don't think they're going to have a problem getting those people on board. Like, that's what I'm concerned with. That's where I think the movie's going to do okay, but they better hope the same things.
You know what, to me as a creative person, it's still such a tragedy. Disney bought Pixar because back then their own stuff was not cutting it. Pixar was eating Disney's lunch back then, and so their solution was to buy Pixar. I just think of the joy that, like, my daughter's very first film in the theater was Toy Story 1. My son's very first movie in the theater was A Bug's Life. I mean, those movies were great, and we have the figurines, and I'm trying to think of what other Disney equivalent other than Frozen that we've gotten that brought that kind of joy to.
The closest thing was that Frog one, The Princess and the Frog, and even and Tangled.
Oh, Tangled was good.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, Tangled was really, really good.
And
but I think Lasseter was here by the time Tangled was.
I can't remember. He was there, but I don't know. Did he have anything to do with Tangled?
I don't know.
I don't recall specifically. But basically, it's Frozen and it's Moana. They are like the two
Moana,
big ones.
yeah, that was good.
Well, as Willie points out here, thank you, Willie the Monkey King.
Moana was really good.
Disney had original IPs like Zootopia and Moana. Yeah, those are the last two bigger ones they've had otherwise. But also Mickey Mouse has had modern cartoon series with the rest of the classic characters. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, he has, but again, they could have done something different, and they could have broadened the appeal of that quite considerably.
But what are they doing? We're getting a Zootopia 2, and they're already doing a live-action remake of Moana, a movie that's barely 10 years old. Is it even 10 years old? I don't think it is.
No, it's not. It's less than that. But again, it's because they can get the original cast. So that's a pitch that actually probably is going to work really well. So that's
now that would make more sense to me as like a live performance thing on Disney Plus than it would as a remake to me.
Yeah, but again,
yes.
Kids today are nostalgic for that movie because they.
I understand that one. I have. Yeah. Very little to say about whatever, but no, they're struggling. The park side of things, though, what have they really had? They're just talking about charging more and things like that in that respect, because that's the only part they have that's making any money is the parks. But at the end of the day, without Florida as a major park, if they have to move, that's going to cost them more money than they can really afford. Let's be real. And I understand not physically moving the park, but like if they were to build a new park in another place, it just...
I don't know that they've threatened with that.
Well, that's kind of what the one thing said here. Let me bring up the quote. Bob Iger to Ron DeSantis. Does Florida want our jobs and taxes or not?
That'll make friends.
Yeah.
Again, very diplomatic there. So diplomatic from Chief Diplomat Bob Iger.
He said Florida is acting unfairly to the company and asked, does the state want us to invest more, employ more people, and pay more taxes or not? So, yeah, you're kind of basically right, Andre. But, yeah. So, we'll see. but their original plan was to invest $17 billion over the next 10 years, which the state should want us to do. We operate responsibly. We pay our fair share of taxes. We employ thousands of people there. Do you, though? Do you, though? That's what I think Ron is asking with the whole Reedy Creek District business. So yeah, let's move past this now. There's a few super chats about this.
This clip was taken from Midnight's Edge in the Morning, which streams live every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 9 AM Pacific Time on the Midnight's Edge main channel. There you can send in your live questions and comments before clips and full stream replays are uploaded to Midnight's Edge live archives. We are also on Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey and Facebook, so smash that like, help share, subscribe and join us.